Transit podcast, a place where we discuss all things supply chain. I'm your host, Vishnu Rajamanickam. In this episode, we are joined by Jono Liu, the VP of Global Sales and Marketing at Dimerco Express Group, to discuss the impact of the Trump administration on US shipping and global trade flows. Ever since Donald Trump won a second term to the White House, there have been exhaustive discussions on the shift in trade policy that would be expected during the next 4 years. Trump's perspective towards tariffs has a lot to do with protectionism, as the president pushes companies to set up operations within the US with the expectation of bringing back lost manufacturing jobs. This could be a tricky play, as tariffs can damage relations between trade partners and draw in retaliatory tariffs on US exports. Jono and I will dig into this in detail, exploring how these policies are reshaping global trade dynamics, how businesses are navigating this new reality, and what it means for the future of supply chain. So buckle up and let's get started. Hey Jono.
Hi.
Welcome to the In Transit podcast. Let's start with a bit of an introduction, Jono. Can you tell us about yourself and your role at the Dimerco Express Group?
Okay, my name is Jono Liu. Okay, I stay in Singapore, working for the Dimerco Express Group. I'm the vice president for air freight. Okay, actually, even now I stay in Singapore, but my job responsibility majority will cover Southeast Asia country, plus India and Australia, where we have the own office. So other than that, the office in China, USA, because we have the separate team. My team stay in Singapore. We have another team stay in United States and another team in China. Also, we have a team in Taiwan. Taiwan is our head office. So every team work together as long as there is some information, some global news, also some the multinational customer, because they have so many locations to produce their production. So we cooperate each other, work together. Sometimes we have to travel to the other side, because they have the different manager people, logistic people. We have to know each other, and also I can introduce how we work in our region in Southeast Asia country. Now it's become very hot area for global economic, plus the India, another giant country in the world. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jono. Over the past few years, we've been navigating increasing levels of uncertainty and disruption in global trade, right? And now with the Trump administration's policies, especially with, adding tariffs targeting China and also its own neighbors, Canada and Mexico, there's been kind of like this significant chatter in the media about the potential impacts on trade flows. Given these challenges, how do you see shippers adapting to this evolving and kind of very real threat?
Okay, even my colleague Robin provide something to me, but I have to say something, because for the first time, Trump on board, okay, and actually he was the first person to stop the trade, okay, competition with China since 2018. But that time, not much influence. Somehow after the Biden government, come to on board, his government team work with many the different country to work together we cannot say fight, but we can say is a competition, because China is a very huge countries. A lot of production actually is produced in China. And during the COVID, the 3 years time, people realize, especially for the company is coming from the United States, realize the supply chain cannot be stopped anytime, any place. So they are starting to thinking, move some of the production to other countries outside of China. So since 2020, we have to receive a lot of inquiry from the company based in the United States. Also, we receive a lot of information, inquiry from other countries, okay, besides China. But during that time, the COVID is not easy to travel. So begin from the 2022, the border is open. So people start to traveling. So a lot of visitors came to the Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, also India, to looking for the location, whether it's suitable for another production country they are going to set up. Since 2023, a lot of the pressure from the USA Biden government, and this timing give another attention to most of the people. They are really serious thinking to move some of the production outside of China. So they put on the China plus one. So this we see since the last few years, there's a trend. Already some of the production, a new factory already set up in Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and India. Yeah. This is how we think the trend will be continued, but we don't know what happening, going to next when the Trump, become the president again, and people is looking for the next Monday, when he on board the first day as the president, he was going to issue the new policy, including some of the tariff. This one we cannot foresee what going to happen, but somehow for some shipper, because the past few years they already consider some already set up. For then it will be diversify some of the production, beside China.
That's an excellent point, Jono. The idea of sourcing diversification, I think it started gaining traction after the last Trump presidency. We've seen supply chains slowly inching away since then, from sourcing mainly from China to looking at partners in Southeast Asia, and even for nearshoring purposes, moving into Mexico and South America. And I think after 6 years, we can see very tangible changes in sourcing patterns today. And also, shippers are better prepared today to handle any new tariffs coming their way compared to they were in 2018. So what are your thoughts on this, Jono? Like, what are you seeing in the market now?
Let's say put this way, because Trump, his personal idea to make American, big and strong again. So this is a slogan, he persuaded American citizens to vote him to become the second, become the president again. So tariff, definitely he will put on the track. But we heard we saw the news that he asked, Canada, and even Mexico, he want to increase the 25% tariff for the cargo import to the United States. The reason being because these two countries, they benefited for the free trade agreement between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So a lot of shipment actually moving from these two countries. So he tried to increase the tariff. So get a more tax, income for the United States. But whether will become the effect, we will see. But I don't think it will be increased. I personally don't think it will be increased a lot, because eventually the buyer is the United States people, not buyer from Spain, not buyer from the Singapore. So they will affect the end customer in the United States. They will increase their buying costs to buy the consumer goods, no matter it's Apple phone, no matter it's a car, especially car. 75% American car, I heard, is from produced, manufactured in Mexico. After they become the vehicle, they will move to the United States to sell in the market in the United States. Another country will be China, because the trade surplus between the China and USA is too much, 400 billion a year. So the government want to increase more tariff. This gives some of the shipper to think of other place other than China to set up the new factory. Does it affect the total volume, produced in China? I can say yes, will be affect because some production move to the Vietnam, Thailand, other country in Southeast Asia and India. Whether the affect China economic, yes, a little bit, but I think the China government, they already diversify their market. So USA is not the biggest market for them. ASEAN country will become the biggest, the area, the trade business with China because they ship a lot of raw material components. And now in the Southeast Asia country is still not set up like a China supply chain. Supply chain in China very, very solid. All the material can produce in China. Now they just ship some to other country. So the volume, the business between China and USA will be dropped. Yeah, let's foresee. But the business between China and the ASEAN country will increase. So in overall, not much affect China economic. This is what I can see. Yeah.
That's correct, Jono. I think tariffs might actually be pushing US shippers to the corner more than its impact on Chinese shippers. But beyond the tariffs, US shippers also have to contend with the upcoming Chinese New Year when Chinese firms shut down for a couple of weeks. How do you see this impacting inventory front loading in the US this year?
Yeah, because every year Chinese New Year about to take 10 days, for the people back to their hometown to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Yes, it did happen in the past before COVID. We can see the China manufacturing most of the time, even during the Chinese New Year period, there's still production, but it's by turns, by shifting. But now, these 2 years, manufacturing in China during the Chinese New Year, they will close, release the people back to their hometown to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Before that, we already saw a lot of shipment move out from China to the United States. Either, probably the reason, one is a tariff, because the new government want to increase more tariff percent import from the China. The other reason, the China government wanted their local people can go home earlier to stay with the family the longer time. The third reason, because some of the production moved to the Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, even the India. You can see like Vietnam. Vietnam also celebrate the Chinese New Year. So that means that during the time in Vietnam, let's say, last week of this month, they also closed down because there's no production in Vietnam because they also celebrate the same Chinese New Year as the China people do in China. So production in Vietnam, in Thailand, there will be slowed down. So before Chinese New Year, they have to quickly to ship more, material components to the country in Southeast Asia country. So after Chinese New Year, people can start to work in China, also in Southeast Asia country. This trend a little bit different with the previous time. A lot of production in China, but now this production split, some in China, some in other country. This I see from the shipper side. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the health of the market beyond the Chinese New Year? Do you think import volumes will continue to remain strong, or, considering the growing concerns on sticky inflation and the financial duress on consumers, do you think volumes will trend down?
Yeah, I believe from Southeast Asia country plus India, they will have the more business to the United States. This foresee and the trend. And from China to United States will be reduced. But overall import to United States won't be less consider the total business, okay, into the United States. So the problem is now from the Southeast Asia country is not much capacity. All the shipping by sea or by air must through the Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, Japan, South Korea to United States. I'm talking about eastbound. India more likely will go westbound through the Europe to the east coast of the United States. So the situation will become because the more business out from the Southeast Asia country to United States, but it's no direct sailing schedule or no direct airline operating flight direct to the United States. So all the costs will be increased from the Southeast Asia country to United States. This I already see. And this high price for sea freight and air freight already been continued since the 2024.
Absolutely. While we've covered the story of imports, let's shift our focus a bit to the US exports. Are we currently seeing an uptick in US exports, Jono, or is there an expectation of growth in this area, considering the real possibility of retaliatory tariffs being imposed on US exports if Trump proceeds with his proposed plans? So, how do you see this impacting the market?
Okay, let's put it this way. We call the eastbound and the westbound. Eastbound means from Asia to United States. Westbound from United States to Asia. I'm talking about the air freight because my primary job is doing air freight. In general, eastbound air freight, talking about per kilo rate, is at least 5 times higher than the from is westbound from United States. So that means more business to the United States, but less the cargo, less business out from United States to Asia, because components, raw material, not in the USA. Component, raw material in the Asia Pac. In USA, they do have the little bit some the high-tech material is increased out from United States because they have to ship because they so-called high-end material is produced in the United States. But this kind of business in terms of the overall volume compared with the finished goods, the other raw material is eastbound is more than the westbound. We see a little bit increase for the high-tech like aerospace, like some the now very hot, okay, industry is AI, okay. You know, in the United States is pretty good for the IC design, but for the manufacturing, for the assembling, testing, for the distribution, still in the Asia Pac. It's a big pie other than the USA. So even we can see a little decrease, but we don't see a lot of increase outbound from the United States. Let's say if tariff imposed to all the country in the Southeast Asia increase tariff, whether our country, our region in Asia Pac will increase import tariff outbound from the United States, can be, but not much influence, not much impact because those is high-tech. High-tech not going to the China. High-tech will go into the Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. This trend we see a little bit increase, but in general, not much, okay, the impact, even though China, okay, other countries want to increase the tariff for the goods import from the United States to their country. I don't see there's a lot of influence or impact for this kind of tariff increase by the other country.
Got it. And speaking of air freight, one of the biggest challenges for the US Customs and Border Protection Agency today is the de minimis ruling, or rather the ceiling of the de minimis ruling at $800. Chinese e-commerce companies like Chain, Temu, they are leveraging this policy to bypass customs and directly fulfill orders from China, flying shipments on freighters into the US daily. This so-called quote-unquote weaponization of de minimis is not just impacting local businesses, but is also creating significant concerns for the CBP. So where do you see this heading, Jono, especially if these issues resurface under the Trump presidency?
Okay, and 800 USD actually is a very large amount. Many years ago, this is 300. But American, they increased to 800. Now they consider to reduce. How much they can reduce? We put this way, the first thing. Last week I saw the article. They say this time the diminished 800, but according to the American custom record, per shipment average price is 170 US. Compared with 800, still lower. Even they cut from 800 to 300. Yes, a little bit some of the goods will be affected, but most of the goods not being affected. Even they reduce to the 300. Unless they reduce to the 100, they will be affect the volume, total volume import to United States from China. Also, I talked to the people working for the China airline, EVA Air, because they are operating more freighter, okay, the flight to the United States. They also told me they don't see the e-commerce, the volume will be going to reduce from China to USA because 800 is a big amount. Even CPT, they set up the many rule regulation must be defined, give the physical buyer who is a buyer to order in United States. Chinese people, they still capable to provide everything regarding the rule by the CPT. The key point is the dollar sign. 800, 600, 500 cannot affect the too much volume import from China to United States.
100%. So in the event of tariffs being imposed back and forth between the US and its major trade partners, who do you think stands to gain? I'm curious, are there any specific countries you think could benefit from these trade wars and potentially see an increase in trade volume and value with the US during the Trump presidency?
Okay. We don't need to talk about the Canada, Mexico, and China because three already been the target. Who are the next one? You see, 2024, Vietnam become the big trade partner with the United States. And the trade surplus from Vietnam, I saw the news, also around the 100 billion for 2024. So whether the new government, Trump government, they will include Vietnam to increase the tariff for goods out from the Vietnam. We will see whether it's going to happen, okay, in the next few weeks' time. So who going to benefit without any the tariff increase? For top 10 trade partner, beside these four countries, another 6, who are they? Germany, France, I heard it France, Ireland, and in Japan, South Korea. I believe the tariff will be negotiated by the Trump government. In Southeast Asia country, so far still okay. That means the tariff in the beginning time won't be affected them, will be the Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, and India. This I can see is if there's no increased tariff, definitely Vietnam will be benefit. If Vietnam also become the next target, then Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, India will be another, the country will be benefit because other country, the import tariff increase.
Jono, I wanted to touch on the China question one last time. On paper, Chinese import volumes to the US have declined, as you mentioned. But there's the other side to the story, where many countries ramping up exports to the US, like Vietnam, they're also increasing their imports from China. So in a way, China hasn't really lost as much ground as it might seem. And on top of that, China is also heavily investing in manufacturing, infrastructure projects in countries like, again, Vietnam, Mexico, Chile, countries that are poised to grow their share of US trade in the future. So what's your take on this? Do you think the world is truly moving past China when it comes to trade and manufacturing, or is China still playing a much larger role behind the scenes than we realize?
I personally think China still play the majority role, just diversify their market. So just I mentioned earlier, China allowed the movement to the Southeast Asia country. Why is that? Because supply chain in China is so good, all the things they can do. But in Vietnam, in Thailand, in other country, even you talking about the Chile, okay, Mexico, especially for the country in Vietnam, Thailand, the infrastructure they are building. Infrastructure they have to build as quickly as possible. The second one, supply chain, because the supply chain in China already built up more than 20 years, even 30 years. A lot of experience, a lot of the business in between. But in Vietnam, Thailand, even India is new study. So they need the time to bring the more different supplier coming to the country. Supply chain need a convenient transportation. So no matter seaport, airport, even the custom regulation, this country, Vietnam, Thailand, India, okay, they have to improve. The most important to attract more really supplier to their country to set up the own supply chain. Before that, still rely on China to import all the goods, supplier, components, everything. So I don't think in next few years, China will become the less important, but still play a majority role on the global supply chain, especially for the production, supply chain production.
Thank you so much, Jono. It's been an absolute pleasure discussing the inner workings of the industry and global trade flows with you. I'd love to have you back on the podcast in the future to revisit these topics and see how things have evolved from where we left off today. Until then, thanks for joining us on the In Transit show.
No worry. We will see what's going to happen. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
This wraps up another episode of the In Transit podcast. To learn more or to hear previous episodes, check out our website at scmr.com/podcast/all or check the podcast segment on thelogisticsreport.com. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.